Ohio State flips three-star defensive tackle Jamir Perez from Florida, adding a true nose tackle to the Buckeyes 2026 class.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to another Victory Monday right here at Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, veteran sports talk host, delivering passionate coverage about your Buckeyes, and today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. During today's show, we will discuss the target number of players the Buckeyes need to have in their 26th class, as well as the impact of the Buckeyes not landing Felix Ojo. But first, Ohio State's recruiting stays hot as the Buckeyes just landed their 21st commit in the 26th cycle. This one comes with the Buckeyes flip three-star defensive tackle Jamir Perez from Florida, a man that committed to the Gators about a couple months ago, but when you get him on campus and he realizes a player of his stature with his skill set can stay in the Midwest, the Buckeyes, Larry Johnson and Ryan Day, did what was needed to make this flip happen. And while they made the flip happen, Jamir Perez adds that into Ohio State's 26th class that no other player has in their bag. It's a big-bodied guy in the middle, a guy that can hold his own, that knows how to overpower the offensive lineman in front of him, but can be developed into being a true nose tackle that Matt Patricia can work with over the next few years. And Jamir Perez is a Buckeye. The Glenville pipeline stays open, and this one is one of those guys that can help Ohio State be very multiple on defense. Because isn't that the goal? Isn't the goal for Ohio State to be able to run a three-man front, run a four-man front? Maybe if they decide to do it, run a two-man front. Isn't that what Ohio State wants? I know there are sometimes in a video game where sometimes there will be a one-man defensive line of one guy on the at the nose, then everybody else in a two-point stance. That's a rare thing to see, but you have to have the right personnel to run different groupings. Ohio State's base is still a 4-2-5. It wouldn't shock me if Ohio State was out there in a 3-4 or a 3-3-5 or the true dime package, which is a 3-2-6, or maybe they go out there and do something a little bit more creative to confuse the opposition. Because remember one thing, this is college football. This is not the NFL where the opposing quarterback has all day to watch film and all day to prepare for what the upcoming team is going to do. These cats still got to go to class. These guys still have limitations on how many hours they can spend with their own coach. And so while it's college, these are really good players. The pros, the true pros here, are the coaches. They have all the time. They have all the resources. They have X, Y, and Z that can help them prepare for the upcoming game, which is why I wouldn't shock me if one game Ohio State was out there in a 4-2-5 base, but they might run 4-3 more than a 4-2-5, or they might run a 3-3-5 more than a 4-2-5. Why? Because of the preparation that the coaches have put in throughout the week leading up to the upcoming game. And while they're putting in that work in the offseason, in the week leading up to the game, Jamir Perez could be a big piece of the pie one week. Maybe he won't be. Maybe he's going to have to wait his turn, be a developmental guy, wait a couple of years before getting consistent playing time. And if that's the case, there's nothing wrong with it. But what Matt Patricia did in the NFL behind Vince Wilfork, who was a mammoth human being in the middle, could be something that Matt Patricia does with Jamir Perez. I'm not trying to say that Perez is going to be a Vince Wilfork-esque type of defensive tackle at the nose, but what I am saying is that Jamir Perez wants to be coached by someone that knows how to use someone of his stature, 6'3", about 330, 335. He's listed as 360 on 24/7 Sports. I've seen him listed at 350 and at 330. So let's err on the side of a little bit lighter based off the fact that this young man did lose weight in between his sophomore and junior seasons, playing a little bit lighter right now than the 360 that he played at during his sophomore campaign in high school. While the weight gain is great, he also knows how to use his frame, use his body to his advantage. But there's something a little bit deeper to this commitment than just a young man that is learning how to use his own body, is shedding weight that fits into what Ohio State wants on the D-line, and being coached by a guy that knows how to use his skill set. This is a changing of what Ohio State is used to. Because normally Ohio State will go and get a traditional one tech and a 4 down front, traditional 3 tech and a 3 down and a 4 down front, and let it ride. Yeah, you may run a 3-man front every now and then, but it's different when there'd be years in the past where a guy that's at Glenville would go elsewhere. That's a 350 plus type of defensive lineman would go elsewhere because Ohio State doesn't get guys like this to stay. Normally, guys like this aren't really found in Ohio. It's hard to find them, and if you find them, they're not as talented. They're not talented enough to stay in Columbus. Jamir Perez is. Jamir Perez is a guy that I do believe down the road, year 3 and year 4, you're going to see the fruits of his labor, the fruits of him putting in all the work, and you're going to see a guy that may be 330, shed some of the body fat, work on some of the technique, stay consistent with Larry Johnson, and you're going to find that he's going to be a solid Buckeye up front. He's the 21st player to commit in the class. His commitment came with the fireworks on the 4th of July, which I always love in finding out guys that realize, hey, it's the 4th. Birthday or not, let's make this thing a firework party for this particular fan base and for these coaches. I love that Ohio State has guys on the D-line that are different. I mean, there are guys there that are similar. There are also guys there that are a little bit different. And while Jamir Perez has a certain skill set that is very unique to him, it is one that Ryan Day needs to tap into a little bit more. His initial commitment to Florida didn't shock me. Florida just had a guy get drafted that was 420. Now, Jamir Perez, I hope, will not balloon up to 420. But when you see that a year ago, wouldn't it be a no-brainer? I understand it's Cleveland, Ohio. I understand the Glenville pipeline is a big deal with Ted Ginn Sr. Controlling the program. I get that. But wouldn't it be to me, if I'm in Perez's shoes, it would be a no-brainer to me that Ohio State would be the school. But if Ohio State doesn't use guys of my size on the D-line, well, wouldn't I want to go to a place that just had a guy of my size, maybe a little bit bigger, get drafted? Absolutely. Here's the difference. Ryan Day's calling the shots. Ryan Day's a little bit different than other coaches at Ohio State, and Ryan Day's going to figure out a way to keep this man home. I am very happy that Ryan Day pushed for the official visit, and as you say around here in sales, ABC always be closing. He was always closing. He knew if you got him on campus, maybe it's a good shot we're going to get you. Hey, if we get you and your mama and your daddy on board, it's a really good shot we're going to get you. Oh, Larry Johnson, very personable man, young man that still say he's young, a young man that knows how to recruit and connect with the families. Oh, we still got you there too. ABC always be closing. Here's another closing pitch that Ryan Day probably used. Sir, do you want to go down to Glenville? I mean, to Gainesville, Florida. Say Glenville. Do you want to go down to Gainesville, Florida, and play football where your mama and daddy, your aunts and uncles, and your cousins can't watch you play, but maybe once a year? Or do you want to go to Ohio State, which is right down the road? They can come as often as they would like, see you play at night, see you wear the scarlet and gray, the school that you've probably dreamed of playing at. Doesn't it make a whole lot more sense? Absolutely. Jamir Perez is a Buckeye. He adds a very unique piece to the Buckeyes 26 class. It's one that I believe Matt Patricia has been salivating over when thinking about what he can do while he's at Ohio State with a guy of Jamir Perez's size. While Jamir Perez is the 21st player to commit to the Buckeyes in the 26 class, he won't be the last. Well, what is the target number of recruits Ohio State needs in a cycle? I'll answer that question next. This episode is brought to you by Gametime. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Gametime comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or even invite a bigger group to come with you. Gametime makes it possible. Gametime makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guarantee. Thank you all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. While Jamir Perez is the 21st player to commit to Ohio State in their 26th class, I started to wonder and dig a little bit deeper to figure out what the target number is of recruits for Ohio State to have in their 2026 class. Just got a commitment recently from a quarterback in Luke Fahey from Mission Viejo, California. The Buckeyes have gotten 4 receivers to commit in the cycle already. A couple of them are teammates, and Chris Henry Jr. and Caden Dixon Wyatt. There's some really good players on the defensive line as well as on the defensive side of the ball. But in all of that, there's a target number that Ohio State needs to hit when it comes to these guys. The number I got in my head, and it's down on my paper, is 27. 14 guys on offense and 13 guys on defense. That is the easy target that Ohio State should be it's attainable as well for them to land those guys in this group. You may want to say, Jay, why 27? Or isn't it a little bit hard to get 27 once you get to the 4th of July? Will guys really commit through the rest of the year? Well, yes, they will. But also, you're going to get probably 3 or 4 more expected to land in the month of July. And some of these are kind of preventative maintenance. As you know, at some positions, receiver and running back, you're going to get guys to go into the portal. Tight end, you're probably going to get a guy to go into the portal. D-line, maybe linebacker, you're going to get guys to go into the portal. So on the surface, you may want to say, Jay, that doesn't make any sense. But when you think about what the current roster is, the amount of guys that are going to leave, the amount of guys that are going to stay, is sometimes a log jam. The packed rooms the Buckeyes have in each position group is going to make a whole lot of sense about why certain positions have these guys there. And so, for Ohio State, 14 guys on the offense. 1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 4 receivers, 2 tight ends, 5 offensive linemen. Now, it's the breakdown on offensive linemen as far as how many interior and on the outside. The Buckeyes currently have 1 interior offensive lineman, 3 offensive tackles. I think the target for each position is 3 on the interior and 2 at tackle. You basically want to recruit on the offensive line a new starting 5. Left tackle, left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. Every single cycle, you want to make sure you have 5 guys. So let's just say these 5 guys are rolling in together and they're staying together. They all 5 might redshirt together, and then while they're redshirting, they get on the field together. Now, it's rare to get 5 guys in the same class that are recruited in the same cycle to get on the field at the same time. But realistically, you want to get 5 every single year. 1 quarterback. I say 2 running backs. Now, you already got 1. I think 2 running backs is ideal in every single class. 4 receivers, because there are going to be guys that are going to go to the NFL. There are going to be guys, probably multiple guys that go into the portal. And then 2 tight ends, because Ohio State primarily we'll run a lot of 12 personnel, and I do think you still want to get 2 tight ends. One may be a developmental guy. One may be a guy that might get on the field sooner. However, while he might get on the field sooner, you have to also anticipate 1 guy, at least 1 tight end going to the portal. I'm not saying any names. I don't know who it's going to be. The room's also very, very full, so it could be 2 guys in the tight end room going into the portal. When it comes to the defensive line or defensive side of the ball, I got 13, at least in this cycle right now. 5 defensive linemen, which won't be normal, but it is this year. 3 linebackers, and then 5 DBs. Your defensive backfield, defensive line, and offensive line, they're all very similar. You want to basically recruit 2 outside corners, a nickel corner, and 2 safeties. When it comes to defensive line, you want to recruit literally across the board. Left side, right side DN, weak side, strong side, and then a 1 tech and a 3 tech. Those are the things you want to get every time, similar to the offensive line. Now, when it comes to the defensive line, it's odd because I probably would, on a good year, I would say 4. But with the lack of depth and development at those positions, I think Ohio State needs to get 5. Realistically, it's 3 D tackles right now and 2 edge rushers, edge defenders. Buckeyes currently have 3 D tackles committed and 1 edge. I would be shocked if there was not another edge defender that committed to the Buckeyes before Big Ten Media Days. Let's just go ahead and put a number on that. At least one more edge will commit before Big Ten Media Days. 3 linebackers. 2 are easy. I say 3 because you gotta anticipate, once again, guys going to the portal. And there are enough really good linebackers out there, some from Ohio, a lot of them around the country, that you just need to go out there and get them, develop them, lure them in, not via the NIL, like we'll talk about later on in the show. Hint, Felix Ojo. But I think 3 there. DBs, enough said. The Buckeyes currently have 2 corners committed and 2 safeties. That third or the fifth guy in the class, he could easily be a nickel corner or a hybrid safety corner mix. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter at all. But that's what you need. Seems like a lot, doesn't it? 27. You're basically asking Ohio State to get 6 more. When you break it down, that is 1 more running back. It's not the worst thing in the world. 1 more tight end, which Ohio State was really pursuing a second tight end earlier, who just committed to somebody really, really good. It may be difficult to get 2 more interior offensive linemen. However, offensive linemen are generally that one position that wait a little bit longer to commit. So, while it is July 7th on this Victory Monday right here at Locked On Buckeyes, you can follow the show on the YouTube and anywhere you get your fine podcast. I do think there's a true scenario where Ohio State can get 2 more interior offensive linemen to commit. D-line, I probably on a good year would say 4. But Larry Johnson, it's not really his fault, is it? That Ohio State hasn't been developing? Has it been a recruiting issue? Has it been an NIL issue? Has it been Ohio State being slower to really buy into what other schools? Maybe everything is true. Maybe it has been on Larry Johnson. Maybe it has been Ohio State's pace to move a little bit slower than other schools out there. Maybe all that is true. But, 27 seems like a lot. I think 27 is attainable. And I think Ohio State, when trying to accomplish its goal, needs to make sure they keep the main thing. Yes, there's a quantity goal you want to hit. But the main thing is to make sure you bring in quality athletes, quality recruits. Yeah, you need more guys. I mean, in every single cycle, doesn't matter. If Ohio State one year had 15 recruits, you would be upset. We'd be talking about it every day here on the show, about Ohio State's lack of focus, about them prioritizing the wrong things. We would document that every day here, but we're not. We're documenting that there's more work to do. I mean, that's one thing Ryan Day said in an interview with Nicole Auerbach we touched on about a month ago, that Ryan Day said there's no time for rest in the interview. This is in context to winning the national championship, going on the media tour and being on various shows and really getting the monkey off his back, but also realizing we're playing till January 20th. The combine's right around the corner. Pro days are right around the corner. While the pro day and the combine is not a Ryan Day responsibility and it's not on his to-do list, it is his job to be there to support his players and to allow his players to have the space inside the Woody to work out in front of NFL coaches and executives. But while there's a pro day, there is spring ball. There is a winter and spring portal window. So there's a lot of stuff going on in Ryan Day's mind, and it could be easy for Ryan Day to say, well, 27 is attainable, but we might not get the quality guys. It's not good enough. No. Keep the standard high. Keep the main thing. And the main thing is to make sure you recruit players that understand the culture at Ohio State, or guys that you believe can buy into all the culture at Ohio State, and guys that'll help you keep the standard high. And, of course, beat Michigan. That's always the goal. Nobody should ever come to Ohio State and be comfortable losing to Michigan. Absolutely not. Jeremiah Smith said he didn't come to Ohio State to lose to Michigan, and I'm glad he was open about that. You know what I'm also open about? Ryan Day having a target number of 27, but also beating Michigan this year. Oh, yeah, if you thought we're not going to talk about Michigan for the rest of the year, you have lost your mind. That game is too big. A 4-game losing streak is unacceptable. The focus this year, and it should be every year, is to beat Michigan. Well, there's one guy named Felix Ojo who would not be on Ohio State's roster trying to beat Michigan because this man followed the bag and committed to a school that shocked the entire country. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes and making this show your first listen of the day. This past weekend was a busy one for myself, for my wife, for a lot of people around me. This was a pretty busy weekend. Busy week in general. My wife and I celebrated our second wedding anniversary this past Tuesday. The very next day, my son had his first birthday, so that was a pretty big day. And then also on Saturday was his first birthday party. So you have an anniversary, a birthday party. You got the 4th, which is smacked in there as well. I had a later night on July 3rd. I went to a dirt track to cover a multiple races on a quarter-mile dirt track. So it's a pretty busy week. And while my week was pretty busy, I was really trying to follow the Felix Ojo recruitment and trying to follow my phone as closely as I could to figure out where this young man was going to commit. Jamir Perez committed to Ohio State, flipped from Florida. I was here for it. I'm glad. What kind of rubbed me the wrong way, more so as a fan than as an Ohio State person, was Felix Ojo following the bag. Felix Ojo, 5-star offensive tackle from Mansfield, Texas, Lake Ridge High School, committed to Texas Tech. Now, Texas Tech, as many of you know, the everydayers got a little glimpse about where he might go, was not in Ojo's top 4. The assumption was that Felix Ojo was going to go to Texas to be a Longhorn. Now, Michigan and Ohio State were in his top 4, but I think Florida was in there too. I think it was a Texas-Ohio State battle down the stretch, but Texas was a school that people thought he was going to go to. So why would he go to Texas Tech? Dollars and cents. It might not make sense to you, but it made sense to Felix Ojo to follow the bag, where this young man, between him and Texas Tech, there was a big, massive NIL deal. This is a report coming from Matt Zenitz of CBS Sports. It's a 3-year deal averaging $775,000 a year with a verbal understanding that Tech would renegotiate up to $5 million if things shift back to a Wild West setup. Now, there's one thing in this aside that I want to touch on later, but why would someone want to commit $775,000 a year over a 3 years period to a guy that's never done what you're trying to get him to do at that particular level? Somebody smarter than me, please let me know, because me and my brain, I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I'm pretty smart. And I got a real feeling that this is a pretty bad investment. I mean, think about all of the guys over the past 5 years that have been promised $700,000 a year, $1 million a year, before they even get into college, that don't pan out. It's more likely that he won't live up to the hype than that he'll live up to the hype, because the hype is so high, it's hard to live up to it. I mean, LeBron James lived up to the hype and exceeded it. Kobe Bryant lived up to said hype and exceeded it. Shaq exceeded it. Mike exceeded it. Reggie Miller exceeded it. Chris Paul exceeded it. Steph exceeded it. There are a lot of guys out there. Didn't know it was going to go that far. Excuse me. There are a lot of guys out there that exceed the expectation and the hype. It's hard to believe that Felix Ojo is going to be the guy because the odds are not in his favor. I don't know if Ohio State really is. I mean, they're losing in the recruiting battle. But Ryan Day has never put an emphasis on a guy that is making recruitment all about the money, or is prioritizing money while making the school and the coach and making sure it's the right fit secondary, where the primary thing is the money. And I don't blame him, y'all. I don't blame him at all. I think it's a major issue that there are so many coaches in so many schools around the country that are comfortable paying players and using NIL deals to entice players to come to school. I think it's horrible. I don't like it. But that's the world we live in. And I 100% agree with Ryan Day. I understand where he's coming from. I believe he's doing the right thing and keeping the main thing. Because if you allow a kid to come in, that's prioritizing the dollars and cents. That could be a culture shift. That could be a bad apple. That could hinder your quest to snap the fork and losing skid to Michigan. That could be a problem when you're trying to run it back for the first time in school history. That can lead to being a problem, especially if this young man gets on campus and he is not the man you thought he was going to be, or he is not playing the way you thought he was going to. Maybe he needs to shed some weight. He's resistant to that. Maybe he needs to hit the weight room a little bit more, and he's resistant to that. Maybe he's not all in with the culture. Maybe he doesn't understand the emphasis Ohio State puts on winning, and maybe that's a bad fit for him. There's so many things that could go wrong that promising a young man who's about to be a senior in high school that much money is stupid. You know what's even more dumb about that? Oh, I thought we learned our lesson previously in college sports about handshake agreements, but maybe you didn't, because there's a verbal understanding that Tech will renegotiate up to $5 million if things shift back to a Wild West setup. You know what that reminds me of? Something locally, where I cover a local college baseball team that plays summer ball in downtown Kokomo, that there was a handshake agreement that the stadium, the city, and a certain company would renew the contract that was set about 10 years ago, and they would still be able to use the stadium to play baseball in the summer there in the stadium. However, the city and this organization weren't on the same page. Kind of a verbal understanding, but nothing was in writing. Next thing you know, there were some legal actions taken, and that company is no longer running that team in the city. I'm not here to pick sides and say, was the city correct or was the organization correct? I don't know, but I do understand this. A verbal understanding ain't a contract, baby. Nowhere close. So if you're trying to say that a verbal understanding is okay, I wonder what world you live in, because there are a lot of people I have talked to that you say, oh, yeah, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you come back when it's time to do X, Y, and Z, and they say, I don't know what you're talking about. We never talked about this. Did we write something down? Did we put it in pen and paper? No. We talked about it. You agreed upon it. Cool. Your word is your bond. Whoa. My word being my bond. My word being my bond would be great if I could remember what my word was. But I don't remember what my word was, so my word can't be my bond because I don't remember what my word was. And that's the issue with stuff like this. Never in my life did I ever think collegiate athletics would get here. But it is. And never in my life did I think people that are so smart would make decisions like this, that there's a verbal understanding. And when it's time to renegotiate, either side can say, we didn't have a verbal understanding in the past. It's so easy to do that. So the Felix Ojo commitment, it was about money. It was a money grab. Granted, that's life-changing money for a lot of people. That can change a lot of things. So do you want to follow the dollars? Cool. Great. Or do you want to go to the place that can develop you the best? If I'm him and I want to stay in state, go to Texas. Don't go to the Red Raiders. Absolutely not. Lubbock or Austin? Austin's an easy choice. But if you want to be developed by a winner and a school just knocked off the Longhorns in the Cotton Bowl before winning the national championship the very next game they played, go to Ohio State. Not Texas Tech. Still weird to say that right here on the show. I've been thinking about that for quite a while all weekend. And the first thing I told my wife before even knowing about the NIL package was that this is oil money. But Texas got that oil money too. But somehow Texas Tech won the bid. Whew. It's crazy to think about how powerful NIL has been in college football and how people are still using it to entice athletes to come to school. I say NIL because his own agent talked about the NIL package. It wasn't something that was promised via revenue sharing for the school. They're promising this in NIL deals. This sport I love, keeps making some pretty weird decisions that people in charge that are very powerful continue to make weirder decisions than they did a couple years ago. Thank you all for tapping in Locked on Buckeyes right here on a Victory Monday and making this show your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show because my guy Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal and Locked on Buckeyes on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. It's Heads on Locked on Buckeyes on a Victory Monday. We'll see you next time.